I've already chopped up some parsnips. I have some broccoli here that I've cleaned, and I'm gonna finish chopping this carrot. My mom always made chicken and dumplings for me when I was sick, when I was growing up, and I find that it's like still my go-to when I don't feel well. And not to mention, it's flavorful. You know, even when your senses are all messed up and you can't really taste your food, you're gonna taste this. So I have a sheet tray here that I've lined with parchment paper. I have some broccoli florets that I'm just gonna chop in half. Auntie C's the person that's gonna show up to your doorstep when you're not feeling well. So I am very happy that I can do that for her. I remember when my grandmother was in a little slight accident, and my Auntie C was the first person to go run to her rescue. She brought her food when she was healing. She brought a little liquor too. So all of my veggies are all diced up. I'm just gonna hit it with a little olive oil, a little salt, and freshly cracked black pepper. Give it a toss. All right, so I've seasoned my veggies. I'm gonna also season some chicken thighs I have here. Again, I just want a lot of flavor, and so instead of using chicken breast, I'm using chicken thighs. But if you have breasts available at home, you can use that too. Olive oil, salt and pepper. Massage it in there. And before I put these veggies in the oven, I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna let that roast at 400 for 15 minutes. And while that's roasting, I am going to sear off my chicken. So I have some unsalted butter. I'm gonna also add a little canola oil. A little extra fat wouldn't hurt anybody. I'm gonna sear this on both sides, and that's gonna create some flavor at the bottom of this pan, you know? Building layers of what? Flavor. All right. So I'm gonna sear this on one side until it's golden brown, then flip it over and let it sear on the other side. It's been cooking for about 5 minutes now, so I'm gonna give it a flip. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Nice and golden brown. I'm gonna take it out of the pot once that other side is golden brown. Then I'm gonna cook more veggies. I have some celery, some onion, and garlic. I'm gonna sweat that out. I'm gonna add some biscuits. Now that's my mom's trick. Well, okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'll tell you when we get to that part, okay? They've browned on this side. I'm gonna take my boneless chicken thighs out. And look how beautiful this chicken is. Beautiful, juicy chicken thighs. So to this pot, I'm gonna add some celery that I've diced, white onion, some garlic, and a little bit more salt, some pepper. I'm gonna let that sweat release some of that moisture in the onions and the carrots, and then I'm gonna add in the rest of my ingredients. You don't have to wait to eat chicken and dumplings when you're sick. I like making it on Sundays and kind of just eating on it throughout the week, you know? It's a really big pot of just really great food, so you can eat it for lunch, you can eat it for dinner. So I'm gonna add this chicken bouillon paste that I really, really love instead of using broth or stock, because it just has a really big punch of chicken flavor. It smells so good. It smells like my childhood. That's what it smells like. Nothing like some chicken and dumplings. All right, so I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of flour to help thicken this soup up. Give it a mix. And then I'll add 6 cups of water. I'm gonna return the chicken to the pot. I'm gonna let that cook for about 30 more minutes covered. And when that's done, I'm gonna take the chicken out, shred it up, add my roasted veggies, biscuits, and cream. I'm smelling all of those like natural sugars and the parsnip and the carrots, and they are beautiful. This is just right. So let's check on this chicken. Oh, I'm like sensory overload. The smells is coming from this pot, from the roasted chicken. My goodness. I think I'm sick too. I want to take my chicken thighs out and shred it. So what I like to do is just shred the chicken now. And if you don't want to fuss with shredding the chicken, you can always dice the chicken thighs before you add it to the pot and just don't worry about it. But I kind of like the shreds of chicken, you know, because I feel like you can get chicken with every bite. So I'm going to add the chicken back to the broth. I'm going to also add my roasted veggies. I know Auntie C is going to love this. All I need to add is the cream and the biscuits. I have a half a cup of heavy cream. So this is a hack my mom used to do. So instead of making dumplings from scratch, my mom would always use frozen or canned biscuits instead. Much easier, And these go right in the pot and frozen. And I make this for my fiance, Brian, all the time. And I know when Brian has been in my pot because there will be an entire pot of broth and no biscuits. He eats all the biscuits out of the chicken and dumplings. All right, so I'm gonna cover this and let everything cook for about 15 more minutes. The dumplings are gonna soften up, the veggies are gonna soften up, and it's gonna be good to go. So I have a skillet here, I'm gonna get a little hot, add some olive oil. The first thing I'm gonna do is sweat down some onions and garlic. All right, so I have one yellow onion here that I chopped up, add some garlic. And that's another thing too that I like to do is prep my veggies. Like if I see that all my recipes have onion, I'll get like 2 or 3 onions and chop them up.
Okay.
And just have them, you know, ready to go.
Already ready. Okay, that's a good tip.
So I'm gonna add a little anchovy paste. The salty, fishy undertones play so well with the other briny flavors that go into this Puttanesca. 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now I have 1 can of crushed tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
A pinch of red pepper flakes. So just a little heat,
spice.
just a little spice. And while that simmers, because I need it to thicken up just a little bit with the paste and the crushed tomatoes. Got some water that's been boiling back here. Can you drop a little bit of the spaghetti? You don't have to use the entire package, it's just us. We're gonna boil it for about 10 minutes and take it out, put some cold water on top to stop the cooking process. While that's going, we gotta cut up some chicken.
Okay.
All right, come over here.
Let's go.
All right, so we have our second rotisserie chicken here that I'm gonna break down. Cut out the backbone. I don't have to shred it for this one. Basically leaving this into like cut up chicken pieces. We're gonna drop the chicken into the sauce. So it's gonna break down a little bit, loosen up, kind of become one with the sauce. You know, you wanted that sauce to get inside that meat.
Yes.
So it's been about 10 minutes. We're gonna take the chicken back over there and nestle it into the sauce.
Ooh.
I'm gonna add about a cup of olives in here. 2 tablespoons of capers. Also another element of a little brine, a little salt, a little bit of Italian seasoning right there.
Okay.
The pasta is done. I'm gonna drain it back here. Cold water. The reason you run cold water over pasta is because you don't want it to continue to cook. See, it's gotten nice and thick.
Yes.
So this is a thick sauce.
Okay.
Rich, very rich. I'm gonna add in those chicken pieces.
Okay.
Just nestle it in there. And you know the chicken is already cooked. All I'm doing right now is just warming the chicken up with the sauce.
Okay.
I'm getting that flavor infused into the chicken. It looks like you spent all day with this chicken that you cooked, slow cooking on top of your stove for hours. And you can tell your husband that too, like, look, I've been home all day making your meal. And, all right, so we got our pasta. We're good to go. Let's try it.
Okay.
I wanna get you a few pieces of that chicken breast.
Okay.
And some olives. Top you off with a little oregano leaves.
Okay. Bon appetit.
Love it. I have diced 1 Yukon Gold potato. I'm gonna get my skillet hot, season my potatoes with a little salt and pepper. I'm using Yukon Gold because I love the buttery texture. Some oil to my pan. I'm gonna add some butter as well. Cook it off for just a little bit, not too much. I don't want it to get mushy. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna prepare the rest of the stuffing. I also have a crown of broccoli here. I'm not gonna use all of this. I wanna chop this broccoli pretty fine. So I'm also using country ham in this recipe. I had to do something better than just like a little boring old chicken breast. Like I can give them that anytime. It's gonna add a little bit more saltiness and flavor to this dish. All right, so I'm gonna check on my potatoes and they look great and I don't wanna cook it anymore, so I'm gonna turn that heat off, let it cool out and finish the rest of my filling. I'm going to shred some Gruyere cheese and some sharp cheddar. Now I'm gonna add my potatoes to this bowl. Use a spoon here. All right, let me grab my chicken. Now, I decided to use bone-in chicken breast with the skin on to add a little bit more flavor to this dish. But if you have boneless, skinless chicken breast, you can use that as well. This is a complete meal right here. We can stop while we're ahead, make a little omelet out of this too, see? I am going to make a little slit into my chicken breast and make a little cavity to stuff my filling in, making sure I don't hit that bone. I don't want to split the chicken, just create a pocket. I'm going to stuff this into my chicken breast. Look how pretty that is already. And after I stuff the chicken breast, I'm going to close it up with these little skewers here. This is gonna be some flavorful chicken from the inside out. All right, so I'm gonna sear this off in the same skillet. So I think this one is almost there. There you go. Oh yeah, that's pretty. I have my oven preheated to 375. I am going to cook this off until the internal temperature reaches about 165. That should take about 30 to 35 minutes. The chicken is done. Nice and brown. The cheese is bubbling. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm using a frozen vegetable pack that I had in the freezer for a few months now. I have some lima beans in there, some carrots, some peas, and some corn, but you can use whatever frozen vegetables you have on hand. All right, so I have some rotisserie chicken that I was gonna get rid of, but I'm glad I saved it. All right, I have some cream of chicken soup. I am sure you have some cream of chicken soup in your pantry. As a matter of fact, I always have it in my pantry because my grandmother, we live in a hurricane zone, so my grandmother always tells me, you never know when the lights are gonna go out. Always keep your cream of chicken soup in the pantry. And I'm like, Grandma, if the lights are out, then... Okay, anyway, so here's a way to use that cream of chicken soup that you never use in your pantry. A half a cup of half and half, and some freshly cracked black pepper. I'm gonna give it a little mix. Growing up, my mom worked a lot to make sure that we had everything that we needed in our house. She was a single mother and she worked a lot. And so there were times where she wanted a home-cooked meal but just didn't have the time to do it. So she would do things like chicken and dumplings and use canned biscuits instead of the dumpling. My mom would make lasagna a lot and she would use the jarred sauce. There was nothing wrong with that. I don't know where we've gotten in society in these days and time where you feel like you have to make everything from scratch to have a complete meal. You don't. You don't. If you need to use a jarred sauce, go ahead. If you need to use biscuits from a can, why not? Okay? So this mixture is nice and incorporated. So I have a muffin tin here that I've sprayed with nonstick spray. I have some canned biscuit dough that I'm gonna slightly stretch. All right? And I'm just gonna stretch it and press it into the mold, right there. And of course, like you see, we're making a cup. I'm known for my chicken pot pies. And when I normally make chicken pot pie, I'll take the chicken breast, sear that off, take that out the pan, add the veggies, add the onions, add the seasoning, then I put it all into a cast iron skillet, and then I top it off with either dough that I've made from scratch, or sometimes I actually use like puff pastry, or sometimes I use biscuits. But the process of all of that, is tedious in itself. So this right here just saves you so much time. And what's really cool about this recipe is that you can freeze these. So if there's a day where you really don't have any time, you can just go in the freezer, pop it in the oven, and have a meal. All right, I'm gonna add the filling to the biscuit cups. And so I'm adding just enough to fill the cup. Don't want to overfill it because it will kind of spill over. There is a lot of pressure on me to always create things that are like super homemade, super from scratch. This is like, Kardea, you're a chef, you're a cook. I know you're not using canned biscuits. And it's like, come on guys, like I have a life too. I have things that I have to do. And sometimes I just don't feel like it. You just don't feel like it. And I should never feel guilted into like constantly making things from scratch, you know? If it's good, hey, do it. All right, so this is my last cup. I have the oven preheated to 350. I'm gonna bake it for about 20 to 25 minutes. Ooh, look how pretty those are. They smell so good. Beautiful. Kiana travels a lot, so I know she wants a good down-home, low-country meal, so I'm making her some Gullah Gumbo. In our culture, stews are very light, bright, tomatoes, veggies, things like that. So my gumbo is gonna have that, but it's gonna start with that traditional base, what they call in New Orleans the Trinity. I guess it's the Trinity in our culture too. So Gullah cooking is all about one pot dishes. It's about evoking flavor with little to nothing. And the reason for that was to make something that could last. A soup can go a long way. A stew can go a long way. I'm gonna head over to my stove here and make the roux. And a roux is just basically flour and some type of fat. It thickens it up, it gives it flavor, it gives it color. I got about a cup of canola oil. You need an oil with a high smoke point because it burns quickly. And the thing about a roux is you gotta stand by that pot. 1 cup of flour. Break down the oil in the flour. I have my Dutch oven on about a medium-high heat. And what I'm doing right now is actually burning the flour and the oil. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the start of a roux. You gotta brown it. But for a Gullah Gumbo, it's gonna be on the lighter side because I'm not cooking the roux as long, but it's still gonna have lots of flavor. And I'm starting to see that peanut butter color that I'm looking for. And it's just basically that flour is just, browning with the oil. So keep scraping. And if you start to see that it's burning a little too quickly, turn your heat down just a little bit. And we're almost there. All right, I'm gonna add my veggies in now and cook my veggies down with the roux. Look at that. Ooh, what I'd like to do right now is start adding in my spices. A few pinches of salt, black pepper. And because it wouldn't be me if I didn't add my house seasoning, some smoked paprika, onion powder, garlic powder. All right, so I'm adding a pinch of mace. Mace is almost like nutmeg. It smells like nutmeg, it's very bright. And if you can't find mace, you can always use nutmeg. A pinch of gumbo filet. Gumbo filet is ground sassafras plant, all right? I'm gonna add 2 bay leaves in there. Now I'm gonna grab my garlic and tomatoes. And I like to add in my garlic and tomatoes at this point because I don't want to cook out that garlic flavor. I want it to be really pronounced in the gumbo. And tomatoes cook down fairly quickly, so I like to add it in at this point as well. Now for the liquid. I'm gonna add in about 3 cups of seafood stock. So just about this whole box, leave a cup. I'm also adding about 3 cups of chicken stock. And the reason I'm mixing the stocks is because I'm adding smoked turkey and I'm also adding seafood. Gotta add the shrimp. It wouldn't be Gullah if I didn't. All right, I'm gonna bring this to a rolling boil. I'm gonna also add smoked turkey wing. My grandmama and them always added some type of smoked meat to help enhance the flavor of whatever stew they're making. Okay, so I'm gonna let this go uncovered, just let it simmer. After an hour, I'm gonna add the lima beans. I'm gonna let the lima beans cook up in this. And then last but not least, I'm gonna throw in some shrimp. Of course, I'm gonna add traditional Gullah crab rice to the top of that gumbo. I'm gonna heat up 2 cups of chicken stock because it infuses flavor into the rice. This is about half of this box. For every 1 cup of rice, you use 2 cups of liquid. And it's important to rinse your rice. Let me tell you why. You gotta get that starch off the rice. Once my water runs clear, you got most of the starch off. My stock has come to a boil. I'm gonna add my rice, bring it down to a simmer and cover it. All right, while that goes for about 15 minutes, I'm gonna cut up my Trinity. Got a tomato I'm gonna use a little later, and of course, garlic. Crab rice tastes just like it sounds. It's crab meat and rice. Now we like to use blue crab claw meat because it evokes more of that crabby flavor. If you wanna be traditional, you gotta use claw meat. And if you wanna go old school, you'll sit there and crack some blue crabs and add that meat into the rice. That's how my great-grandparents used to do it, okay? Got about half of this bell pepper that I'm dicing up finally. All right, add it to this bowl. And I got 1 clove of garlic, of course. Y'all know I like my garlic. You know what, to make life easier, I'm just gonna add the garlic to the veggies right there. Right now, there's so much flavor going on here, everything is just gonna meld together and it's gonna be awesome. Let's get this veggie sauteed. What I like to do is start my crab rice with a little butter and oil. I like to use the combination of 2 types of fat. Butter has a little bit more water content. So to really get a nice fry on my veggies, I like to add oil. And while that's getting hot, it's been about 15 minutes. Let's see if the rice is done. My rice is nice and fluffy. Let me tell you another secret to getting the perfect fluffy rice. After it's done, you turn the heat off, put your top back on, and let it steam off the heat. Your rice will be nice and fluffy and not overcooked. Let me add the onions, the garlic, and the celery. A little salt to draw out some of that water. Ooh, smells so good. All right, so I'm just cooking it till it gets a little softened and the onions turn translucent. I'm gonna take my rice, add the rice to the pot. My grandmother and my mom, they call everything in the house a pot. Even though it's a pan, it's a pot. Get all the crusty stuff. We're almost like making fried rice. Turn my heat down just a little bit. I'm gonna grab my crab meat. This is a pound of crab claw meat. To really get that crab flavor, you gotta use the claw meat. I wanna grab some of my house seasoning, 2 heavy pinches of that. And last but not least, tomatoes. A pop of freshness. It's gonna also give it a pop of color. Crab meat, rice, bell pepper. I tell you, this is a meal in itself. Let me close this up right now because I tell you, I'm about to sit down and eat a bowl of that by itself. So this has been going on for about an hour. Let me add my lima beans. Ooh, what is Gullah Gumbo without lima beans? Every stew, every soup my grandmother makes, she adds lima beans. And that's why I add lima beans to my gumbo. This turkey is starting to loosen up a little bit. I'm gonna pull that turkey apart and it's gonna be a part of the meat too. The color is beautiful. Those lima beans look great. I got a pound of shrimp that I've cleaned, deveined it, deshelled. And had I put the shrimp in earlier in the process, it just would have been overcooked. And who wants tough shrimp? No, 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 no. Now I'm gonna take my turkey wing out and shred it and put it back into my Gullah Gumbo. Not only do you get a bite of shrimp, you're also gonna get a little bite of smoked turkey. I'm gonna put the bone back in there with the shredded meat.